Hello viewers, Super GT here. Thank you for joining me. How are we all doing? Hope you're all good. Okay, Group 3 Interlagos. This week's Daily Race C, very interesting combination. It's one that's come up approximately 5 gazillion times before, but this time it's a little bit different because of the tyres that you have to use. Now, before we get into the race, which was a freaking awesome race, let me tell you, I just want to go through my qualifying lap, which is a 28.9. So hopefully this will be able to help you out, because I know a lot of you guys like to see a little bit of a breakdown of the qualifying lap. So going into turn 1, you're looking for the 100 and the 50, and you're braking somewhere between those, usually towards the 50. And then on the brakes, pivot it across that apex, and then absolutely abuse the right-hand section of that corner, getting on the power well before the apex. You should be able to go flat out through this left-hander. For reference, I am using the Peugeot RCZ, and obviously different cars will handle differently, but this car seems to be very good for this track. Now coming into turn 4, you're looking for the 100 ball, braking just after it. Left-hand wheels firmly on this curb, then powering out to the outside, getting comfortable with that curb on the outside as well. Let's have a look at that again. So perhaps I even turned in a little bit too early, but you have to get really comfortable with that curb on the outside, so don't be afraid to get on the power early to get a good drive up this hill. And then coming up this hill, looking for the 50 board, turning in and braking just on that or just before it, double apex long corner, and you power out to the outside, braking just before this tyre mark on the track there. You can cut the grass with your right hand wheels there. Here you want to just coast, no power. Let the car pivot, and then on the power, using the curb again, back over to the left hand side, looking for this curb on the right hand side, and just as that disappears from your view on the right, you're going to go onto the brakes. So using lots of references, and lots of people are always asking me, you know, how do you know your braking points? You just learn them, you just remember them, you just remember what to look out for. And here, braking roughly halfway between the curb and the 50 board, and that should get you into this final corner. Use lots of the curb on the outside, so you can see a theme there. Just get your braking points right, and get plenty of curb abuse if you want to put it that way, and then across the line 28.9. So fairly happy with that lap. I know I can go a little bit quicker, but as we go into the lobby, you see that here, very competitive lobby, some very big names in here, none other than Zavicic, the guy in the second. We've made videos on this guy before. Really fast. He hasn't been playing the game a huge amount recently, but he is back online. But there's loads of really quick guys in here. Will Murdoch there in 6th place. Quinton at the back. And you just listen to the rotary power of that Mazda. Absolutely scintillating. It sounds like someone's left the vacuum cleaner on. So probably want to turn that off to save some energy. We go into the race. Okay, starting 4th, 13 laps. Now in terms of the strategy, I just mentioned that at the start of the video. You have to use 2 sets of tyres, soft and medium, and you have to use both. You can't like just use medium and do a no stop. You have to do 1 pit stop. And this is where this race becomes interesting. So I'm going to start on the soft. If you're starting at the front of the pack, you want to typically go onto the soft tyre at the start, and then go onto the medium. If you're starting in the middle or near the back, you probably want to use the medium at the beginning, and then go onto the soft at the end. So already here, Velasco in the Mazda, not having a great run out of turn 5, and he kind of didn't really fight at all. He just moved across and just let me go past. So I'm going to move up into 3rd place. The top 2 there in the Peugeot as well. So I'm still using the Peugeot here. Very comfortable in this car. If you are using this car, brake bias slightly to the front, 1 to the front I would say, but you don't really need it too much different than that, I'd say. This car does have problems with rear tyre wear a little bit, so that's why you move slightly forward. At the end of lap number 1, you see the gap there to the front 2, a little bit bigger than what you'd like, just over a second, 1.1 seconds. Obviously that means I'm not in the slipstream, so I'm not going to be gaining on them as such. It's going to be hard enough to gain on these kind of guys because they are so good. Zavicic is absolutely rapid. But just looking at the Hungarian driver here in the lead, begins to go very defensive, and this is something that's always going to help you out in a race. If the guys in front of you start fighting, start defending, and taking the sub-optimal line, and that's always going to give you a chance again. Down the Rita Aposta, down towards turn number 4. Lots of defending. It's only going to slow them down as we come down on lap number 3. Beginning to pull away from the Mazda behind. In fact, he's gone down into 5th place and has been overtaken by a Supra. And that was a good thing about this race. I know that the top 3 of us here are all in the Peugeot, but you can really use a lot of different cars for this race, and you can still succeed. That's why this combination, I think, is one of the best combinations that's come up in a while. I know Group 3 Interlagos comes up all the time, but having it as racy with a bit of a mix in the strategy means that lots of different cars can win or can do very well, and that is a breath of fresh air, should we say. So, end of lap number 3, are we gaining on this top 2? It looks like we are a little bit. At the start of the lap we're about 1.5 seconds. Now the gap just over 1 second, so we've actually gained on this lap, not so much since the start of the race. And just looking forwards there, Zavicic actually going for the lead and going through turn 1 side by side. And again, this is something you're always looking out for. They're going to go side by side through that corner. It's going to slow them both down, although Zavicic has got through into the lead. And when Zavicic is in the lead, it's often game over. You're probably not going to catch him up. He's that good, that clinical. But it was very strange to see him not in first. So now the gap from myself to the Hungarian driver, 0.5 second. So I'm in the slipstream now. So you can see, courtesy of all that fighting that the top 2 have been displaying for us, it's given us a vague hint here, a vague chance, and now we're in the slipstream. So it's just a couple of little fights. You know, the gap comes down from 1.5 to just 0.5 second, and all of a sudden you have a chance of potentially winning. Although, as we said, we're in with some big guns here. It's going to be very difficult. Just putting yourself into the conversation and seeing what you can do from there. Into turn 12, lap number 4. Again, just pushing the track limits to the limit as we round out the 4th lap. And we're going to start considering coming in to change over to the medium tyres at some point soon. Usually lap 6 or 7 you want to do it, somewhere in the middle of the race. A bit of an overcook into turn 1, courtesy really of not knowing my exact braking point in the slipstream. Obviously you want to know where you're braking normally, but then also in the slipstream you're going to be going a little bit quicker, so you need to change your braking zone to make it a little bit earlier. So these are things you're learning on the fly pretty much, but then I suppose the more you do the race, the more you just learn where you need to brake exactly. And I've pointed this out many times recently, I think, that once you know where to brake, once you get your braking point right, once you start braking at exactly the right time, really the rest of the corner tends to follow. And yeah, I'd say if there's one thing you can always work on, which will help your overall game, not just Gran Turismo, but in any sim racing, is trying to focus on exactly where you're braking, trying to get that right, and a lot of the rest of the corners will follow. And that's true in most games, I would say. Most racing games. Most games with braking, not a shooting game, because you're not really driving down the, you know, you don't really have braking points in Call of Duty. But you're doing Gran Turismo. So now, it looks like Zavicic's just beginning to stretch clear a little bit. Hungarian driver here, not quite, I mean he's close, but he's not going to be within range here of going for a move into turn 1. Again, just a little bit too late on the brakes, maybe 10 metres too late. That is the difference. That's enough to just push you back, especially when you're up against the quick guys. You need to be perfect, pretty much. Otherwise, they are just going to pull away. So here, just look ahead. They both get a little bit too comfortable with that track limit. We mentioned that in the qualifying. You want to get comfortable with that curb, but obviously they just got a little bit too comfortable, just drifting slightly beyond it onto the AstroTurf and losing a little bit of momentum. So now, for the first time in this race, I'd say I'm in with a shout of potentially going for an overtake. I just need to make sure that I am right on this guy's tail coming out of turn 12, the final corner of the circle, the final actual corner, and therefore I might have a chance going down into turn 1 on lap number 7. So this is a crucial corner here, turn 11. He hasn't got it quite right, the guy ahead. A little bit too quick going into that corner, but I'm firmly in the slipstream now. Zavicic just pulling away even more. The guy ahead of me is only going to be getting a faint whiff of slipstream at this point in time, but I'm certainly going to get more than just a faint whiff of his slipstream. Is he going to defend? Yes, he is. He's going to go all the way to the left-hand side, cover the inside. All I can do here is potentially go for a cutback or try it all the way around the outside, which I am doing. But he's still on my left-hand side. You can see him just there. I have to give him the space. He's on my left. Can't just run him out. And he resumes second place. So it was good defence and good respect between the two of us. At the end of lap number 7, that's about it for the soft tyres. We are going to come into the pit lane, change over to the mediums. So once again, the Peugeot boys going to work, doing a fantastic job, as they always do. Thank you very much. Very cool. All right, on the exit. Now this is where the race changes. You can see we're onto the medium tyre now. The medium being the slower tyre, of course. And anyone who started on the medium tyre is now on the soft tyre. So we're potentially vulnerable to anyone who is now on the soft tyre. So the first stint of this race, we were quick. We were on the best tyre. We were pulling away. We had a good gap to everyone behind. But now that's going to change. The people behind are going to be quicker, and they're going to start slowly catching us up. So this is the thing I was very mindful of at this point of the race. I do want to get past this guy, but at the same time, I don't want to fight so much that we start putting ourselves into the clutches of the guys behind. You saw what happened. Zavicic and this guy started fighting, and that allowed me into the fight. If they didn't fight, I don't think I would have caught them up. And you can see here, as we look behind, 1, 2, 3, 4, probably 4 or 5 cars there within 2 or 3 seconds. That's not much of a gap. We still have 5 laps to go after this one. So this one could get a little bit tasty towards the end, as we're hanging on for dear life with the medium tyres. On to the main straight, lap number 8, coming to a close. We're in good distance here, good proximity to the car ahead. Can we go for this move? You see we're going to slowly wind up to go for it. Is he going to defend? Is he going to go to the left-hand side? Yes, a little bit. Not really fully, though. It's only half-heartedly. On the brakes, and this is probably my main downfall so far. Just braked a little bit too late. Maybe, again, 5-10 metres too late. And just slightly overcook it in traditional style. Okay, it was a good attempt. At least we went for it. He didn't fully defend, which is quite interesting. He seemed quite intent on defending beforehand, but had perhaps a change of heart there. But he managed a very tidy undercut on the way out of the corner. So Zavicic now 2 seconds ahead, and by this point at the end of lap 9, a little bit further, 2.3. We're sizing up another move. The guy behind 2.3 behind, but we still have 4 laps to go. We go fully defensive this time, so a little bit of a change of tactics. To go fully defensive, then not, and then again fully defensive. Still sat in third. I think first is a write-off now. Zavicic is gone, and that's a familiar story for him. And it's very much a battle for second. Quintin with the fastest lap, and he started about 18th. But this is the thing: even if guys start 18th, if they can certainly come through the order and get into the mix. Towards the end of this race. It's a fairly lengthy race, about 20 minutes, pretty much about 20 minutes. Coming through turn 6, 7 at the top of the hill. Tried it, I got the run, but didn't quite get it. Looking up the inside, and again, I don't think that was going to quite pay off for me there. With these consecutive corners, the right and then the left, probably wouldn't have worked out, so we have to settle in behind. Now the main threat, as I just had a quick look behind there is a Mitsubishi Lancer coming through quite quickly, which I was quite surprised about. I didn't really see that car coming. I think it started about 8th, and now it's found its way into 4th. And no doubt it's on the soft tyre. So right now, I'm pretty much I'm between a rock and a hard place. The rock being the Peugeot, and the hard place being the Mitsubishi Evolution on soft tyres. And there it is, less than a second behind now. And there's going to be not much I can do to fight against it when it arrives on the scene, which inevitably will do on the better tyre. So this was a very touchy situation. I needed to get past this guy, but he was defending very well, but the more I tried to go past him, the more he would defend, the more time we'd lose. So it's a bit of a weird one. it's almost like a hostage situation where if someone's holding a hostage, you need to be very reasonable with them. You don't want to push them over the line, and sometimes you need to give them the distance so that they don't do anything silly. So that was how I was kind of treating this situation, with great delicacy. But it's a very difficult one. You see there, as we look behind, lots of cars queuing up on the scene. We still have 2.5 laps left to go. So this one, it could go either way. We could finish second, we could finish 6th, we could finish 8th. We could also crash and finish 18th. You just never know. You just never quite know. Into turn number 10. Cooking it quite deep. And then coming out. This corner very difficult, especially on the worn tyres. Just about getting through there okay. But looking behind now, you see on the radar, the Mitsubishi Evo has fully arrived. Bit of a squirm on the exit. And we're fully into the slipstream, but as is the Evo. Look at that, very close. It's a battle of 3 now for second. And how is this defensive manoeuvre going to go? He's going to go fully to the left. And it looks like he's very much committed, especially on the penultimate lap now. He wants to defend. Fair play. I mean, that's been the story for the whole race, really. Couldn't quite make it work. You see here, having problems with the tyre wear. We are at the end of the race now, and the tyres are beginning to go off, especially the rear tyres. I perhaps should have put the brake bias a little bit further forward. Down towards turn 4, lap number 12. Evo very close behind, not quite going for the move though. So we're stuck in 3rd. And again, it could go either way. Could get that second by some if I can pull some sort of great move out of the bag. But at this point, and it looks like this Hungarian driver's got very much the measure of me. I've never really truly troubled him for this position. Oh my goodness. Big drift there. Just caught 2 wheels on the edge of that curb on the way in. And the car just didn't really fancy going in a straight line or turning in properly. Turning it into a bit of a rallycross session there. So the understeer really begins to kick in now, especially on the medium tyre. So the Evo goes through on the softs. We've got Will Murdoch behind in the VW on soft tyres. So now the big boys are coming out to play, and it's going to be very difficult here to try to maintain our composure. Just fallen out of the slipstream range of the car ahead, which is rather frustrating. So that's not going to give me much of a defence against Will Murdoch, who's just there in 5th place. But to be fair, he's not quite gaining as quick as I thought he would down this main straight. He has gained a few tenths on me. My main hope here is that Hungarian driver in 2nd will start defending a little bit too much again, and I might be able to catch them back up. The gap ahead now is 2nd. So now it's really focused on just trying to defend from Will, who is right on my tail now. Coming down towards turn number 4, just trying to judge, should I defend, should I defend? I don't think he was quite close enough, so I didn't defend. And thankfully it was the right decision. He didn't go for the move. So you don't want to defend if you don't have to. But that was always going to be a close one. Up the hill then for the final time. And the Hungarian and the unpronounceable British name as well. Side by side for this corner. You can see that hands me the initiative to gain right back on them. Through the left. Through the sweeping left. I'm back on him again. So the Evo driver's done a really good job here to go up into 2nd. But now, could we go up for the move on the Hungarian? Not quite. We still have a couple of chances left. We could slipstream past on the line or go into turn 12. It's a very close fight now. Coming into turn 12, the final lap of the race. Will goes for the move into the final corner. There's contact as we head through the corner. And I go a little bit wide as a result. I'm just going to get the slipstream here. Drag race between the VW and the Peugeot, with more cars queuing up just behind. Walasco in the Mazda very close. Quintin coming through from 18th at the back of the pack in the pink car. It's not quite going to be enough for them. We finish in 4th. My goodness. That, maybe one more lap and I could have dropped a serious amount of positions there. Could have gone down into 7th. Thankfully, just managed to hold on to 4th, which is where I started. So it was a good race, and this race produces some great racing, especially towards the end. Okay, that is all for me today. Thank you so much for watching. Take care, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.